she made it home. Witnesses confirmed it. She walked through that front door, alive, safe, completely fine. And then she was gone. No scream, no struggle, no goodbye, just nothing. The front door was closed. The lights were on. The TV was still playing. Her shoes were still there. But she wasn't. December 20th, 1984. A 12-year-old girl named Jonelle Matthews stepped inside her home for the last time. And for the next 35 years, nobody knew what happened next. It was 4 days before Christmas, the kind of night that feels impossible to imagine as dangerous. Neighborhoods glowing with holiday lights, families warm inside their homes, children excited, distracted, counting down the days. Jonelle Matthews was 12 years old. She lived in Greeley, Colorado, a quiet, ordinary town. The kind of place where nothing bad is supposed to happen. Friends described her as cheerful, outgoing, full of energy. She sang in school activities. She had close friends. She was the kind of kid who made people smile just by walking into a room. That evening, Jonelle had been at a school Christmas concert, a completely routine event. Parents clapping, kids performing, everything perfectly normal. Afterward, she caught a ride home. Witnesses confirmed she arrived at the house. That detail matters more than it seems right now. Hold on to it. Her father was away briefly that evening. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. Jonelle had stayed home alone before. She was responsible, mature for her age. Nobody was worried. When her father came home that night, the garage door was open. Lights on inside. TV still running. He called her name. Silence. He checked her bedroom. Nothing. Looked through every room in the house. Still nothing. Her belongings were still there. Her coat, her shoes. No signs she had packed anything. No note, no warning. It looked exactly like someone had just stepped away for a moment. Except that moment never ended. Police were called immediately because something felt deeply and unmistakably wrong. Before we go further, I want you to think about something. Jonelle was confirmed inside that house. The door was closed. Her things were untouched. So how does a 12-year-old girl simply cease to exist? Was someone already waiting inside the house? Did she open the door for someone she trusted? Drop your theory in the comments right now. We'll come back to the most interesting ones. The search started within hours. Neighbors, volunteers, law enforcement from multiple agencies. Everyone converged on that quiet neighborhood. Everyone was certain she would be found quickly. She wasn't. Hours became days. Days became weeks. Tips flooded in. Sightings, suspicious vehicles, mysterious strangers. Every lead was followed. Most led nowhere. Imagine being the detective assigned to this case. A young girl is missing. The entire community is watching you. A family is waiting by the phone every single day. And despite hundreds of hours of investigative work, the evidence just isn't there. Months passed. Then a full year. The case grew cold. The media moved on to other stories. New tragedies replaced old ones. But Jonelle's family never moved on. They couldn't, because they still didn't know. And not knowing is its own kind of torture. Children who had known Jonelle grew up, finished school, got married, had kids of their own. Investigators who worked the case retired. New detectives inherited old boxes, photographs aged, memories faded. Jonelle's case became one of those cases, the ones that get mentioned in hushed conversations, the ones people assume will never be solved. 35 years passed, 3.5 decades, and still no answers. Here's something I want you to think about. 35 years. That's not a cold case. That's a frozen case. Most investigators would have quietly closed the file, but they didn't. Why do you think someone kept pushing after all that time? Was it guilt? Duty? A personal connection to the case? Tell me in the comments, because what happened next is going to change everything you assumed about this story. In 2019, 35 years after Jonelle vanished, investigators made a discovery that stopped everything. Human remains were found during an excavation at a former oil field site in Weld County, Colorado. DNA testing confirmed what so many had feared. It was Jonelle. After 35 years, she had finally been found. But finding her wasn't the end of the investigation. It was the beginning of a new one. Because now, there was evidence. Physical evidence. The kind that can identify a killer. Detectives worked through the forensics. They rebuilt timelines. They re-interviewed people connected to the case. And eventually, a name emerged. Steve Pankey. A man who had lived near Jonelle's neighborhood in 1984. A man with a troubling history. A man who investigators believed had been hiding a secret for over 3 decades. In 2020, Steve Pankey was charged with Jonelle's murder. The case that was supposed to be unsolvable had just been solved. Here's what I keep coming back to. Jonelle was 12 years old, 4 days before Christmas. She walked into her own home, a place that was supposed to be safe, and never walked back out. For 35 years, her family lived without answers, without closure, without knowing. And the only reason this case was ever solved was because someone refused to stop looking. Even when the trail was cold, even when the case was forgotten, even when every logical reason said to move on. That refusal to give up, that's the part of this story that doesn't get talked about enough. Because cases like Jonelle's don't solve themselves. They get solved because someone keeps showing up, year after year, box after dusty box, until one day, finally, the truth has nowhere left to hide. But the next story we're covering is different. Because in that case, the victim survived. She came face to face with a predator. She escaped. Barely. And what she told investigators afterward helped bring down one of the most dangerous serial killers operating in modern America. The story of the survivor who lived to tell the tale is next. If this story stayed with you, hit subscribe. We cover the cases that don't get told the way they deserve. See you in the next one.